In this video we're going to look at multiplying whole numbers together. Now you need to know your times tables. You really do, just need to learn those really. But there are some things we can do if you don't know them some of the time. First question we're going to try and do here is 28 times by 7. Now the way I'm going to show you is called the grid method. This 28 is 20 and 8. And I'm going to split it up like that. 28 is 20 and 8. Now I'm putting that along the top of my grid. A box with a space for the 20, a space for the 8. The number I'm timesing it by is 7. So I'm going to put 7 down here. And I'm going to show I'm doing a timesing sum. So this is how I'm setting these questions out. Now I'm going to start off here by pretending for a minute that that naught doesn't exist. That naught isn't there, and that's just a 2. Here's what you do. To start with, you ignore the noughts. 7 times by 2, 7 2s are 14. And I write that 14 down. But there is a naught here. So actually, what I've got to do now is stick a naught on the end of what I've had. So actually, 7 times by 20 is 140. Over here, I've got to do 7 times by 8. 7 8s are 56. Now, if you can't do 7 8s quickly, write down an 8, 7 times, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and start adding up. 8 plus 8. Now, even if you've got to count on your fingers, we're at 8. I need another 8. That's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There we go. Now, if I count another 8 on, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Write that down. That's 3 8s. Another 8. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. And you can keep going on your fingers and you will get these answers. So there's no excuse really to say I can't do 7 times by 8. You can count on your fingers if necessary and you can get these done. Anyway, we haven't finished this question yet. Because inside my grid, apart from the sort of heading row and this row, I wrote down two numbers. These two numbers here, 140 and 56. And what I need to do now to get my final answer is add these together. So I'm going to do that as an adding up sum. Now you may be able to do this in your head anyway. But if you're doing it as an adding up sum, nothing and 6 is 6, 4 and 5 is 9, 1 and nothing is 1. That 196 is the answer to the question I started with, which was 28 times by 7. So that was a 2-digit number times a single-digit number. What I'm going to do now for the next one is a 2-digit number. I'm going to do 35 times another 2-digit number, 35 times by 43. First thing I'm going to do is split them up. That 35 is 30 and 5. That's going to go at the top. And down the side I'm going to split 43 up. That's 40 and 3. That's what 43 is. It's 40 and 3. I'm going to make this grid, put my timesing sign down there, and now I'm going to try and fill this grid in. And just like before, to start with I'm going to pretend there aren't any noughts. And I'm going to work out what goes in this box here. If I cover those noughts up, I get a 4 and a 3. 4 3s are 12. So I write my 12 in. But in the questions I've just done, or the numbers I've just done, 40 and 30, there was a naught there, and there was a naught there. That's 2 noughts. So I've got to put those 2 noughts in as well. So the answer to 40 times by 30 is actually 1,200. Now I'm going to do over here. I'm going to pretend this naught here isn't here in a minute, and I've got 4 times by 5, which is 20. 4 5s are 20. But between these two numbers, there was a naught. There was a naught here, and I need to put that naught on the end. So 40 times by 5 is actually 200. Now I'm going to come down here. I'm going to pretend that naught at the top isn't there. 3 3s are 9. And between these two numbers I've just dealt with, there was one naught here. I put that one naught in. Over here, I'm going to do 3 times by 5. That's 15. There were no noughts to worry about in 3 times by 5. Now these four numbers, I need to add them together. So over on the side, I'm going to write them down. I'm going to put the 1200, the 1200, another way of saying it. I'm going to put the 200, the 90, and the 15 down, and I'm going to add these together. So if I go down this column, nothing, add nothing, add nothing, add 5 is 5. Nothing, add 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 has to be written like that, 1 and a 0. The next column, 2 add 2 is 4, and that carried 1 makes 5. And the final column is a 1, there's nothing else, so that 1 goes down there. So the answer to the question I started here is 1505, 1505. So we've done a 2-digit number by a 2-digit number. The next one we're going to look at is doing a 3-digit number, 204 times by 78. Now that 204 is 204. So it actually only splits into 2 bits. The 78 is 70 and 8. And we're going to times these together in the grid, which I'll make up. So, timesing these two, remember, ignore the noughts. 7 2s are 14. Now, how many noughts did I just cover up? 1 on the left and 2 on the top. That makes 3 noughts. 3 noughts have to go down here. Now I'm going to work out what goes here. So I've got to do 70 times by 4. But cover up the noughts. 7 4s are 28. And I've covered up 1 nought that has to go down there. Down here, I'm doing these two numbers times together. And I'm going to cover those noughts up. 8 times 2 is 16. And I covered up 2 noughts. Down here, it'll be an 8 times by a 4, which is 32. And just like last time, I have to add these numbers up. My 14,000. Now be very careful with these, you're lining everything up correctly. My 280. Good neat columns is what you need. 1,632. And I'm going to add these all together. So down this column, I just have 2. In this column, the 8 and the 3 make 11, which I write like that. Nothing, 2 and 6 make 8, and that 1 makes 9. 4 and 1 make 5, and the 1 on its own just makes that 1. Final answer for that question was 15,912. I'm going to do one final example. It'll be another 3-digit number by a 2-digit number. This time I'm going to do 358 times by 25. This number 358, we need to split it up just like we did the last one. 358 is 358. So I split that number up. And then the 25, I will split that up going down the side, is 20 and 5. And then we draw the grid, put the time sign in. So, in this block over here, I've got to do, I'm just covering up the noughts, 2 times 3, which is 6, but I covered up 3 noughts, so I write those down. This next one, 2 times 5 is 10, and I covered up 2 noughts. They have to go down to make 3 noughts there altogether. That was the 10, and the 2 noughts I've covered up. Over here, 2 times by 8 is 16, and I've covered up 1 nought. So you can see you can get a bit faster now. Here, 5 times by 3 is 15, and I covered up 2 noughts. Next one, 5 times 5 is 25, and I covered up 1 nought. The next one, 5 times 8 is 40. So I've got 6 numbers inside my grid, and I need to add them all up. My 6,000, my 1,000, my 160, my 1,500, make sure that 6 really looks like 6, my 250, and my 40. So I'm adding up these 6 numbers. The first column, nice and easy, all zeros. The next column, 6 and a 5 make 11, and 4 make 15, which I need to write like that, with 1 and the 5. Here, 1 and 5 is 6, and 2 is 8, and that 1 down there is 9. The last column, 6 and 1 is 7, and another one is 8. There we go, that's the answer to that question. The answer to that question is 8,912. and 50.